Hi guys, Shauna here. Look, I'm so excited. I got my book in the mail. Like, this is the one that's a draft copy, so it says not for resale on it, but this is like tangible. Like, I'm holding it. Like, it's so exciting. I have a couple of things that I'm excited about today, and right now I'm like, I just tried to shoot this video, and for some reason the camera messed up and stopped recording and started a new video clip, and I was like, what the heck, man? I just said a whole bunch of stuff. I'm not used to that. That's the first time it's happened to me. So I'm not really sure why my camera malfunctioned. But I have a couple of things to be excited about. Today, I got a new buyer for the Florida real estate market. I got a new buyer for the Maryland real estate market. I have an offer coming in on one of my Maryland listings. And I got a new mortgage application for the Maryland real estate market. So things are jumping. I also, I had to reschedule a class that I was supposed to take, like a core comp class for being able to speak at the shelter for abused women and children. And so I rescheduled that. So that's back online. It's back on the books. I'm excited for that. Like, I'm really passionate about helping women and children. I should have known this 20 years ago, but whatever. People go down their road on their cycle, right? Until they jump off, that is. Okay, so last week I think it was last week. I'm losing track of these videos. I started sort of like a section on depression, and I'm going to do the video I did promise you about reading emails from people. But I've only gotten a couple. I would really want to have a real big impact on that video that I planned to shoot on the 12th. But I don't want to read just one or two. I want to read several. So letters to the soul 1111@gmail.com. If you have a story to tell about your depression, the whole point of that is to let people know, like, I don't have that many subscribers, you know what I mean? Like, I've only started this channel like 2 weeks ago. This is a perfect opportunity to let people know that even in a small group, how many people feel depressed or sad or have anxiety, right? So that's kind of like I was taking the opportunity, because the channel's new, to feel a group in the channel. And I was going to, like, protect everybody's identity, of course, but read to you guys, you know, different stories for what they feel about depression and how they look at themselves. But this week, today, I literally had it in me to pull off some books from my home library, some college textbooks from psychology, and just, you know, refresh my memory on depression, right? So I pulled some tidbits from a couple of textbooks that I was able to apply directly to my theories in this book. And so it was like an eye-opener. This book is really not about spiritual awakening. It is, but it's not. It is about breaking the cycle. It's about breaking cycles. That's what this book's about. Of course, there's some spiritual stuff in there, because I refer to, you know, the angels, and I refer to the Bible sometimes. But, you know, you can't cross spirituality and religion. Like, there's a very, very thin gray line, and I think I pointed it out in the book. Like, Doreen Virtue and I should really get together for real. But anyway, so one of the things that I pulled out, first I wanted to just bring it to your attention that in America alone, as of 2014, when one of these college textbooks was printed, which is the Exploring Psychology and Modules by David G. Myers, it was published in 2014. There is a statistic in there that says 3% of all Americans were diagnosed with generalized anxiety. Anxiety and depression most of the time go hand in hand, because obviously if somebody is depressed, they have anxiety about what they're missing out on, or what, you know, their inability to fulfill their responsibilities, because they are immobilized, right? And that's where the anxiety comes in. Like if you're depressed and you're sad and you literally have no motivation to get out of bed, you are literally paralyzed from fear or anxiety or just sadness from whatever you're going through or went through, which caused you to be depressed, right? It's like you feel unmotivated and, things like that. So obviously, if you feel unmotivated when you are laying in bed and you're supposed to be at work, the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to feel anxiety about losing your job. You're going to feel anxiety about, not cooking your children's dinner because you just can't get out of bed. You're going to feel anxiety about the fact that you're supposed to be doing things and you just can't get motivated to do them. So that's why depression and anxiety go hand in hand. Now, obviously, anxiety can be a standalone diagnosis, but usually if you have depression, you also have anxiety, and those are the real life reasons why. So I wanted to just point that out. So to be manic depressed, you typically you go from, all right, imagine 3 phases of your brain, right? This is manic depression, bipolar, okay? And they go hand in hand too. So imagine 3 phases of your brain. Imagine a circle, which is your brain, from the top looking down, right? You're looking down on a brain. The brain itself would have colors, like unorganized color, like blue, yellow, green, right? Just as an example. Blue, yellow, green, just spots of it all over the circle that you're looking down on, right? A normal brain let's just continue with the circle. So you have, different colors. They're all sporadic, all over the brain from the top, if you're looking down on top of a brain. The next phase is they kind of come together a little bit. And this is like the next day. It could be totally the next day. It could be the next hour. This is bipolar manic depression. They're coming together a little bit, so they're more organized. And then the very next day, they're scattered again. And that is what it looks like. If I were going to draw you a picture, that's what it would look like to describe a bipolar brain, right? A manic depressant brain. Now, a normal brain, if you think about, rings, if you were to drop food coloring, one drop at a time, a different color, a red color, a yellow color, a green color, into a bowl of water that has a little bit of oil in it, the rings would stay like a rainbow. It would look red, yellow, green from the center of the brain outwards. The colors don't mix. They're not sporadic. And that is a normal brain in happiness and normal feeling normal, like a regular, state of balance in the brain. So I wanted to explain that so you have a good understanding as to why the brain, mixes things up and why a depressed person might feel anxious and anxiety. So the next thing I wanted to say is one of the things that really intrigued me about psychology was the social cognitive perspective of it. I mean, I'm really interested in social cognitive psychology because obviously if you were gonna, excuse me, obviously if you were gonna, talk to a group of people about their different perspectives on psychology, everyone would say something different, right? And that's kind of I took a sociology class as well, and different people have different ideas about psychology in general. Just like I think it was a month ago, there was a debate on one of my friends' Facebook pages about whether addiction is a disease, right? Well, you could pull out a college textbook about the psychology behind addictions, and what it will tell you is when you alter the chemical makeup in the brain, and you deploy happy fluid, right? Serotonin, whatever, which is typically the immediate rush from using a recreational drug, right? The brain, after continued use, the brain eventually, and sometimes these drugs are hardcore, these street drugs are hardcore, guys, where the brain will immediately stop producing the serotonin that it's normally supposed to produce to keep your brain balanced, okay? Whereas a recreational drug will blast your brain with that serotonin, which is why the person using the recreational drug feels good. It's like the instant gratification. It's instant reward for using the recreational drug, right? Okay, so stop there. Let's go back a little bit to the discussion about overall, over a timeline, what happens is if you continue to use the recreational drug on, just like a basic recreational drug, I don't even know, like whatever, you will typically over time stop the ability, your brain stops the ability to produce that feel-good chemical on its own. And then you become addicted to it. Now it is a disease because now your brain can no longer produce this chemical on its own without help, right? And that is what causes the addiction. That is the addiction. Whether it's cigarettes, alcohol, cocaine, I don't even know what half of these street drugs are called now, heroin, and these people are losing their lives because even the Narconon and the addiction counselors and these rehabilitation centers and even any counterproductive solutions that they come available that they bring to the market to battle drug addiction. Nothing is working because every single time they try to battle the drug addiction, the person just goes out and gets more of it because their brain is losing. Like if you go into a rehab, your brain goes into shock, which is detox mode, okay? And then when you go back, when they're set free, because insurance can only take you so much, or, mommy and daddy's pocketbook can only go so far. There's only so many mortgages you can get to get somebody out of, in and out of rehab their entire life. Really? Okay? So once the money runs dry and the family can no longer help the addict, what happens is the brain continues to fight the ability to produce the chemical that the recreational drug replaced, right? And now there's no more outside help, there's no more mental help, there's no more social cognitive help like group therapy. There's nothing's going to help this person at that point because the brain no longer has the ability to produce the chemical that the drug replaced, okay? It's like you're training your brain. When you're using drugs, you're training your brain that it no longer needs to produce it on its own. Oh, it's already here. Like the chemical goes, oh, it's already here. It's already present. I'll stop on that and I'll work on something else. That is the chemical makeup of a brain. And that's why the fight for drug addiction is so, it's like a uphill battle. I'm not going to say it's a losing battle, but it's definitely uphill. I'm seeing friends die left and right over drug addictions. So the reason why I'm bringing this to the attention of the video and the channel is because the social cognitive aspect of therapy, when we're talking about depression, it goes back to this book, okay? When it's talking about the ego and the templates that we were on and the cycles we're on, right? If somebody tells you it's all about brain programming, right? It's your programs, it's the templates and downloads you were given all your life, okay? So if somebody tells me I'm fat, I'm definitely going to think I'm fat if they say it enough. It could be one person, it could be 25 people. If I've heard that I am fat enough times in my life, I am definitely going to think I'm fat, all right? Same thing. If somebody tells you enough people, not just one person, but if somebody tells you enough in your lifetime that you are smart, you're going to absolutely believe you're smart. If somebody tells you enough in your lifetime that you're beautiful, you're going to absolutely think you're beautiful. If somebody tells you in your lifetime, somebody tells you enough, or enough people tell you in your lifetime that there is something wrong with the chemical makeup of your brain, you are absolutely going to believe it. Okay? So if you were told as a child that you are experiencing, you're behaving in a way that is depression, like it's depression, you're diagnosed with depression, or maybe you were diagnosed with ADHD. Okay? If you're diagnosed with ADHD as a child and they give you, they give you the Ritalin or they give you the Adderall as an adult, because I don't think children can take that. You are programmed to believe that you have ADHD, right? And if you're programmed to believe you have ADHD, how does that really affect your behavior? So, I am programmed to believe I have ADHD, all right? So, it's hard for me to start the project of cleaning my house, all right? Because I am tormented by the idea of starting to clean my house, because I know that if I start to clean my house, it will literally take me 16 hours to clean my house, because I'll go from one room to the next room, to the next room, to the next room, to the next room, and each room is not done. I'll have to go back to the first room and complete the cycle until I've gone to all of the rooms enough in one freaking day where at least each room is mostly clean, and then I will give up, right? Because I'm exhausted. I just went through all the rooms in my house 17 times in one day trying to clean, instead of just cleaning one room at a time in a system, in an orderly fashion, in a process, and there you have it. Now my house is clean, and it took 3 hours instead of 17, right? So if you're programmed to believe that you have a certain thing wrong with you, then guess what? You will behave like you have a certain thing wrong with you, and you won't make decisions that are incongruent with that belief. The alternative to that is, if you are not programmed to believe there's something wrong with you, then you won't make decisions that are congruent with that belief, right? So it's all a template. Boom. Imagine that, okay? So you've been diagnosed as an adult or a teenager, as a child, all your life with bipolar, depression, manic depression, whatever, anxiety, whatever you've been diagnosed with, ADHD, okay? Let's just focus on depression because that's what we're talking about. If you've been diagnosed with that, then you're most likely there has been people in your life that have validated that. Somebody said, oh, that's just your depression, try to take it easy, you get coddled for that disease or that diagnosis, right? Oh, you even tell yourself a lie. Like, oh, I'm diagnosed with depression, so I can't get out of bed today. I feel really, really tired, and I have no motivation to get out of bed. All right, now I'm not going to say this is for the same for everybody, and if this doesn't resonate with you, then turn the video off, right? I'm just trying to say that if perhaps you change your perspective on whether or not you are really depressed. How many times has somebody told you in your life that you were depressed? How many times has somebody told you in your life that your behavior isn't normal? How many times has somebody told you in your life that, parent, friends, social circles, that you were overweight? Well, the thing is about depression, if you believe you're depressed and you have a hard time getting out of bed, the very next thing that's going to happen to you is that you'll be overweight, right? Now, all of a sudden, they go hand in hand. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? You're overweight, so you can't get out of bed because you've lost all of your energy because somebody made you think you were depressed. Do you see how this works? Is it a light bulb anywhere in there going off, people? It's incredibly socially, it's a social cognitive psychology theory, okay? If my social environment has the power to change my perception of myself in any way, shape, or form, then they win. If the social environment, whoever it is, has the power to change how I perceive myself, then they win. If you do not give them the power and you are, ignorance is bliss, most people would like to sleep in bed all day and have an excuse, right? But if you don't give them the power, okay, and you take that power back and you say, you know what, I'm not believing this crap. I'm not depressed. Do not stop taking medicine you were prescribed without doctor advice. Okay, do not wean yourself off of medicine. Go talk to your doctor about the idea that you might be working on a template that is not true. Just throw it out there. You might not be depressed, and you would like the doctor to test it. And that is the conversation you want to have with your doctor. Don't do anything crazy, like getting off your own medicine. Don't do that, all right? So I'm throwing that out there for you. But I wanted to just bring it to light, the social circles that I talk about in this book, all right? The ego, the lies the ego tells you, the templates, everything that this book tells you about the cycle, the template, the download, the stuff that people have told you, the stuff that people have told you for you to believe is true, right? Might not be true. Just to explore it. What do you have to lose? What do you have to lose by exploring that idea? So I wanted to just bring that to your attention because social circles have the things, that's why I keep saying what people think of you is none of your business. Good God, don't let that in. Don't let it in unless it's praise. If it's something good, sure, let it in. If it's not, you might want to examine it, okay? That's all I'm telling you. And if you would have known this 30 years, I don't know how old you are, 30 years ago, or when you were 10 years old, if somebody would have told you, you need to examine very, very deeply whatever. We live our life on a hamster wheel. We're asleep until we wake up. Okay? If somebody would have told you when you were 10, like mom or dad, guardian, whatever, if they would have said, I want you to write down anything anybody else offers as a perception of yourself. Anytime somebody tells you what they think of you, whether it's good or bad, I want you to write it down and bring it home. That's like the house rules. If somebody said that you were ugly today, I want you to write it down and bring it home. If somebody said you were smart, I want you to write it down and bring it home. If somebody said you are, crazy, write it down and bring it home. Let's examine it. Because you can then fight the temptation of the ego to listen to that BS. You can fight the temptation consciously to listen or not listen to whatever's being said. It's like an epiphany, right? Like, wow, that makes perfect sense. Why didn't anybody ever think of that? It's crazy. All right, so the other thing I want to talk about is one of the fundamental traits of a depressed person is they typically blame themselves for every bad thing that's happened to them. Every experience that has happened to them, they blame themselves. So they really get, like they really go inside of that self-sabotaging belief. They really go inside of that, self-fulfilling prophecy. They really go in, they live inside of that. They live inside of that template. Okay? And that is very, very typical of somebody that is depressed or sad. I can't even imagine what template Robin Williams was telling himself. He blamed himself for